Awesome. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so this is Introduction to Research, Research 101. We're just going to go through some of the basic information you guys might need to know, going over using the library cataloging, using a couple of our databases, and we're going to touch on Google, but now we're offering a Google workshop as well, so we're going to focus mostly on the first three.
All right, as you guys actually all of you guys know me, but my name is Corey Hunley. I'm the Public Services Librarian. I'm specifically the Arts and Sciences Liaison, but feel free, no matter what your subject it is that you need help with, reach out to either one of us. We're definitely here to help no matter what that is.
And I'm Megan Benfield. I'm the Resource Management Librarian and BTHS Liaison. Resource management just means that I handle all the licensing stuff. So any new books we get, I catalog, I manage the databases, all of that fun stuff.
Sorry, we're now going to switch to share the screen.
There we go. Cool. Okay, so getting started. The kind of main things we're wanting to focus on, of course, how to find resources, but starting with that, what are some of the steps of the research process? How do we create a plan for finding this information and then locating and identifying sources?
So scholarly and peer-reviewed articles, you'll find these either in scholarly journals themselves or on our databases. And so these are just written by scholars and professionals who are experts in this field, and then they've also typically been peer-reviewed and been chosen to be a valid resource by experts in the field as well.
Does not necessarily mean that the experts agree with everything that author wrote, but they did vet and say, yeah, this is a legitimate resource. Going off of that, any of these scholarly peer-reviewed articles are typically going to be published in an academic journal. These are regularly updated publications consisting of current research, meta-analyses, literature reviews. When you're doing any kind of academic research, while books are fantastic resources of a wealth of information, we are typically going to recommend you go to an academic journal, just because it's going to be the most current information out there.
One thing you also find maybe when you do some of your research, you'll come across journal titles that are relevant to the field that you're doing research on. Let us know. We can actually help you find articles within those journals, and that helps you kind of narrow down and find more articles, because the articles we'll talk about in databases are published in these journals as well. And so if you know a specific journal you're looking for, that sometimes will help you in your search as well.
And then, while we do recommend going towards the academic journal, depending on what you're writing on, a book may be a good option. These are going to be more of the general information, maybe talking about theories or best practices, an overview of a topic, but the more in-depth studies are typically going to be in a article format.
And then, of course, there's the library catalog. That's where you are going to find a lot of the scholarly books that we just mentioned. We have ebooks and we've got physical books, obviously, in our catalog. And this is just where you're going to find all the records that physical items that we will have in our collection here. But it also will include all of the state of Wyoming. So you can expand your search to include all the items that are cataloged in. It includes all public libraries, all the community colleges, and some of the K through 12 as well. And so we'll go more into this later, but we can get those books for you. So definitely don't feel hesitant to expand your search results to all of the states.
One of the really awesome benefits that the library offers to anybody associated with CWC, students, staff, faculty, we can get any book, in this case, any book in the state of Wyoming for free, but we can actually get any book in the United States for free.
And I will qualify that within reasons, whatever the libraries are willing to lend. There have been a few requests I've had where there's only been one copy in the entire United States and it's a non-circulating item. They weren't willing to get that to us. But in that case like that, if you know specific things out of a book you're looking for, we can probably ask them to make copies or scans of chapters for you. Now they won't do the entire book because of copyright issues, but they will give you snippets potentially as well. So.
Okay, so then going off of more definitions, when you are looking at journal articles, we're going to tell you to check out our databases. A database is just a searchable collection of information. In libraries, databases often provide access to full-text journal articles or ebooks. The two we're going to talk about are ProQuest and JSTOR, but we have nearly 400 total databases. 207 of them are linked directly in our website, so we'll show you those in a little bit.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about Google Scholar. Again, we are going to offer another session about Googling in general, how to use Google for searching, and it's going to be called Don't Google Solo. But we're going to talk a little bit today about Google Scholar and how you can use that with just your basic starting of your research. And so Google Scholar is just, it's kind of what you might imagine it to be. It's just a Google's search engine, but it specifically searches for academic resources. So a lot of those peer-reviewed journals and articles and even scholarly books you will find by searching within Google Scholar. But the one problem you will run into with Google Scholar, as you'll see when we go more in depth with that, is that a lot of times you'll run into a paywall. I'm going to just say right now, do not pay. Please come talk to us. Either we might already have access to that book or article, or we can get you access to that book or article. But it also is another way for you to have another direction of your search, and it might produce more or different results depending on your comfort level with databases versus Google.
Okay. So now we want to talk a little bit about the research process. This is just going to be the various steps you take in actually writing a research paper. You know, I'm assuming all of you, I don't think Phil is in classes right now, but you might have a paper due sometime this semester. So what are the processes you go through from getting the assignment handed to you from your professor to actually handing it in? You know, this is going to be, okay, what information do I need? How do I find that information? Once I have a wealth of information, how do I determine what's actually relevant or reliable information? How can I use this to write my paper? Now, how do I communicate what I found? And then finally, what did I learn from this? And looking at this, and you know, there's a couple of things we go into, but Corey and I while we can help with any of this, we are specifically trained in helping you initiate a search, locate information, and select relevant information for your research. Now, when we're looking at, okay, these are all the steps you have to go through to do your research, to start writing this paper, how do we actually come up with a reasonable research plan for you guys moving forward? There are two different methods we're going to talk about. One is a method Corey prefers, the other one's a method that I prefer. But they're all going to follow the same basic 3 steps. You want to identify a topic and keywords. You want to search, find out what has been written about this topic, and then you want to make sure to cite your sources. Do not plagiarize, please. So this one's actually my preferred method. I tend to jump a lot of steps when doing my research. I typically go straight to this worksheet of, and this is a really good way for actually planning how to write your paper is, okay, what am I talking about? What time frame is this taking place in? I studied history, so it's like, okay, am I looking at the 1500s? Am I looking at the present day? What country or state am I looking at? And what research question I'm trying to answer.
And even if this might not be your initial way of wanting to start your research, it's still very good a way after you have some information to figure out how to structure your paper. Make sure you have all the points you need to have a solid paper, have all your evidence. So it's a good way still to structure. It's not the way I start. So me, because I'm very visual, I will just kind of start randomly doing searches. And so you start with the French Revolution, and you're like, okay, what about the French Revolution do I already know? Okay, it was between 1789 and 1799. Then you start doing some more search, and you're like, okay, you find out that Louis the 14th was involved in that. And you keep kind of going around, and you kind of bounce around, and you realize it's not really all interconnected in a linear fashion just right now, but it gets you all the points. And so by doing this kind of thought map, it allows you to get multiple points as you're doing the research, and allows you kind of have more of a a natural, organic way of searching, because when you're searching, you're not necessarily going to find a linear argument as you're searching. You're going to say, okay, here's an article about this. Okay, here's an article, but it's like this is going to be the first paragraph, or this one's going to be the fifth paragraph, because that's the way the argument's going to be. So this allows you then to more organically kind of put together all the pieces of the paper, and then you can take this, and that's when you can then organize it this way. Once you have all the little, just all over the place ideas, then you take all those ideas and you then put them in a linear fashion for your paper.
Okay, now getting into gathering information. Again, there's a lot of different resources available to you through the CWC library. We're going to show you how to get to this web page in just a second, but through our website, you have 24/7 access from wherever you are, whether you're in the library, whether you're at home. As long as you have an internet connection, you have access to ebooks and academic journals. We have more than 30,000 books available. We have access to interlibrary loan, which is what we call that process of getting you books and articles from elsewhere in the country. And then you have access to our contact information. We will try to answer anything between the hours of 8 and 6, Monday through Friday, or 8 to 5 on Friday. So if we go back, so you guys should all be on the CWC webpage. If you aren't already, get there.
If you want to narrate it out.
Yeah, so if you go under academics and scroll down to library, this is how you get to the library webpage. This first webpage is just going to have what our current hours are. Over the summer, they're slightly different. Over spring break, they're slightly different, but also our contact information. Our emails are just our first initial, last name at cwc.edu. But to actually get to our resources, you have to hit the orange button for Into the Library.
And we're hoping to eventually have a more direct link to this page. We're working with IT to get like a little like student resources toggle within My Central, so then we have a more direct link to this, because it is a little bit hidden, and so we're trying to make that more available to students.
So looking at this site, first I want to tell you, if you are having problems accessing anything, I'm the person you need to contact. But this notice at the top here is just saying, sometimes whatever internet browser you are using might not be playing nicely with our proxy server, in which case try a different browser. If you're in Google Chrome, switch to Firefox, switch to Safari, Internet Explorer, what have you. Try a different browser first. That might fix the problem. But looking at this, we want you to focus on this first one, which is find specific databases, and then the third one, which is the library's catalog. So we're actually going to start with the catalog.
And so this right here, some of you probably have already seen this. This is how, again, you can search the library catalog for all our physical and as well as some ebook resources. So what we're going to do first, I can't remember, is we are going to just kind of search a generic term, and I'm going to show you how we can, how this is going to pull up and give you a little bit of details on some really cool tips and tricks within searching our catalog. So we're going to just search for American.
Oh, no, start with Native American.
Native American.
So we actually have a fairly large collection of Native American resources and Wyoming state history resources in our collection. Those are the two special collections that we've been focusing on.
And so that pulled up about 444 results. And so that's a lot to search for. And so if you're not quite sure what you're, like say you're doing a history on somebody from the Native Americans, and you're not quite sure what to look into yet, whether it's a certain cultural aspect, a group of people, a certain famous person, you don't quite know yet, you're just trying to do a little bit of searching, you can actually limit your results down here under, you can look for a biography. If you think, okay, I want to look into maybe a specific person, or you're looking into historical, you can limit your results that way. You can also limit it by publication date. They've got subject terms right here, so you can definitely even limit it by, okay, I want to look into mythology specifically. And so that will help you reduce your results. And these numbers right here, actually right here on the side, tell you what the results will pull up. So if you say click this one and say include, it's actually going to reduce your results, as it thinks, to 25. So just keep that in mind. You can actually do more than one when it comes to those search terms. And so if I were to go back and scroll down, I want to do these, and these, and say include. And so it's going to include all of those as you search. One other thing I want to talk about is that we did mention that you can expand your search to the entire state. And that's something you don't necessarily have to come talk to us about. Now, if you want to go outside the state, you do need to come speak to Megan or I, so we can get that for you, because it's an entirely different system that we have to put that request through. But if you want to just search what's in the state of Wyoming, all you have to do right here is come to the pull down menu and say all wilds. WILD is just the acronym that stands for Wyoming Libraries. So you do that and so you say Native American. I'm going to clear these results down here. I'll just go ahead and go with it. So 71 results with those those filters that we go ahead and put in. And if I expand it to all wild, that increased our results, even with those filters, to over 4,000. So there's a lot of options for you. So definitely explore this with looking for what you need for your research paper or whatever that you're trying to do there. Do you want to go ahead and go into
Oh, give me a second.
Okay.
So when you are looking at this, one of the really nice things, so say you're interested in this Native American languages book. You click on this one, it actually gives you all of the subject terms associated with the specific book. So if you're saying, okay, well, I want more books like this, you can say, if you are studying languages, come down to Indians of North America languages, and it will pull up all of the books with that same subject heading. So it's just a really good way to find, the more books like this.
And so that kind of goes back again to that organic way of searching, is that maybe you're just trying to find resources, and as you go along, it's like you're just kind of following the trail of breadcrumbs until you find the resources that you're looking for. It's like, okay, I want this book and this book, but maybe they're talking about different portions of your paper.
And then one of the other things is if you're starting with the Native American search, if you're saying, okay, this is good, but it's not exactly what I was hoping for, sometimes it helps to just change your subject term. So in the case of Native Americans, let's look at what happens if we switch to American Indian.
And so remember, we had 444 results.
You're in all wild right now.
I'm going to go back to just CWC. So we had 444 results from just Central Wyoming for the search term Native American. We do American Indian, that turned up nearly 2,000. So just keep that in mind, and this is something we're going to reiterate throughout this presentation, is that don't get pigeonholed to one search term when searching for something. Think about other ways of describing what it is you're trying to find.
It's typically a good idea to, maybe right before you start researching, just sit down and list off 5 subject terms you want to search for. Like, this is what you're going to be typing into the search for. It's like, okay, I'm interested in Native Americans. Let's also look for American Indians. Let's look at indigenous peoples, or maybe you're looking for a specific tribe. Let's look at the Navajo reservation. You can kind of play with this.
Or Aboriginal, if you're, that's specifically to Australia, but that is a term that it is used more worldwide. One thing also, if you're having trouble coming up with terms like that, if it's something you're not familiar with at all, it's a subject matter that is, it's like I was assigned this, but I have no clue even where to start. Wikipedia actually isn't bad as a starting point. Do not cite it as a source, but what's good about Wikipedia is that it has sources at the bottom. And so you can then go to those sources and use those, if they're academic, peer-reviewed, legitimate, you can use those in your paper because those have been cited in there. But it's a good place to start. It gives you a good heading. It's very much like, I think it was described to me by one of the faculty members as one of the best encyclopedias online. So it's come a long way from what it used to be. And so don't hesitate to use that to get started.
Additionally, when you're looking at Wikipedia, it's not a bad idea to just read through what they said. Again, do not cite it, but a lot of times you can come up with other subject terms to use just by reading what they have written there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to switch over to showing you a couple of our databases now.
Oh, can't see. Okay, we're just going to go back because I can't see it. I'm going to library. So you're going to learn how to find this really easily.
And for the databases, it's going to be the first bubble. So again, we have almost 400 total databases. Only 207 of them are linked here. I'm working on that. But two of the really excellent ones for finding academic resources are going to be ProQuest Central, which is down here, in JSTOR. So these aren't listed in alphabetical order. So you know, if you're wanting to go to ProQuest, you can go over here under P's. But for those two in particular, they are going to be listed on the side here under popular databases. So let's go ahead and start with ProQuest Central. We do have, and this is, ProQuest is one of the bigger databases that we use. They actually have a whole slew of databases you can choose from. But right now we're just going to focus on the simpler search.
Mm-hmm. And so in a lot of ways, please don't be intimidated by this if this is something that's brand new. A lot of these databases, especially as they've improved over the years, can be used very similar to the way you would search Google. So feel free to use keyword terms, phrases. You might have to modify it as you start getting results, but just throw some terms out there and see what pops up. So right now we're going to talk about psychology. We're getting a few questions about those. I'm not spelling that right. And so psychology is a very broad term.
As we told you before, we do highly recommend you look for scholarly and peer-reviewed articles. In ProQuest, there is an option to click peer-reviewed. One of the other things, and this is specific to ProQuest, a few of the other databases work the same way. One of the things ProQuest does is they also give you access to, you know, the citations and the abstracts for a lot of articles, which is fantastic if you're finding, you know, okay, they have some titles here, but they don't have the full article. You can then request it. To save you from that kind of headache, we do recommend you just click the box for full text. This is going to be any article that they actually have the full text for, not just the citation.
And I do want to just show you guys, I don't know if you noticed the number change. And so before I clicked peer reviewed, there's over 3 million results. And that's right here. With I did peer review, so that does help also filter. It's one, better for your paper, but it also helps you find better resources just because it limits the number of resources that are available to you. And then going full text is going to probably even reduce that even further to less than 1 million. Still a lot, still 750,000 resources. So we're going to show you now how to then limit that even further, because there's no way you can search through all of those, and you need to find specifically what you're looking for. So again, as we said, psychology is a very broad term, which is why we got so many results. First, we're going to do source type. I mean, these are great, but they're probably not quite what you're looking for typically research papers. Do you want to speak on these ones real quick?
Yeah, so while they are going, we did select just the only peer-reviewed. The ones that, particularly in psychology, if you're looking for a case study, if you're looking at, you know, this is a full research project that somebody did, it's always going to be published in a scholarly journal. It might be in a conference paper. But particularly for psychology, we typically recommend going to scholarly journals. Mm-hmm. Magazines are going to be more of the, you know, popular magazines that you can purchase. They're more in layman's terms than, say, a scholarly journal would be. Conference proceedings are also written by academics, but they're just
it's not presented in a format.
They're written a little bit differently, but then the publication procedures are a little bit different. So typically, we're just going to recommend you go ahead and go with whatever's in a scholarly journal.
And that's going to be the majority of the results that you're going to have anyway. And depending on what it is you're searching, if it is psychology or anything within the scientific field, unless you're doing historical comparison studies, we probably would recommend you change the publication date within the last 5 to 10 years, depending on, again, what it is you're looking for and what it is you're studying. So we're going to update the publication date, and that, again, cut it back in half for you a little bit there. And then even there, it's, again, psychology being a very broad term, this gives you subject terms to which is like, okay, I'm not quite sure what in psychology I want to write about. This will give you a lot of search terms in which you can then choose what subject you're more interested in, and it gives you the amount of resources that are available under that subject. So, and you can actually, instead of just including, you could also exclude. It's like, I'm not quite sure, but I definitely don't want to do any sort of questionnaires, or I don't want to do any sort of child and youth. I'm not interested in that. I'm looking more at the adult fields. That will then exclude stuff that you don't want to see. Do we want to?
Yeah, go ahead and click on one.
Let's just go with the human. I'm just going to include that one. Human psychology.
So this brought you down to 50,000 results. There is one thing that I just really like about ProQuest is if you click on one article, I don't know anything about the article I just clicked on. One, they give you the author's name, so you can actually click on the author's name and it will show you every article they have published by the same person. Same thing, you can click on what journal it came out of. It will show you all of the publications they have for that journal title. The one thing that I really like though is this related items. Typically it's going to be, hey, this article has one of the same subject terms as the article you clicked on. So it might take you a little bit of digging, but it's significantly easier than going through the whole 50,000 list. Mm-hmm. So, and it's the same thing. You can just click on one of these titles and it takes you straight to the page with that article on it.
And this one is where we did mention that it does, these databases will occasionally.
Well, this actually has full text.
There we go. Sometimes it will just give you the abstract. So again, don't get frustrated if you can't get to it. If you think based on the abstract and based on the title and everything you're reading, that it's something that is very relevant to what you are researching, please come talk to me. I can request it for you, or I can have Megan look it up on her graduate databases. She has a little bit more access to some of those just through her own school. Or we can just, sometimes we even have gone as far as just emailing the author and they will send it to us. So just come talk to us. Don't pay for anything. We want to get it for you so you don't have to spend your hard-earned money.
So is the abstract more like the Cliff Notes?
So it's
a summary.
A summary of
Summary,
it.
yeah.
So you wouldn't.
It's like reading the back of a book.
Okay.
So it just kind of gives you
It
an
would
idea.
not be something you could pinpoint, like I have to do a literary review, literature review.
Yeah.
That would not be what I want.
No, but by reading the abstract, it might help you identify whether this is an article you want to read.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to just tell you what's in the article, but it's not enough for you to review it.
Okay.
Going into, and this is going to be the same for most of our databases, we also have these options that you can download as a PDF. You can get the citation, so if you have to click on the little button once, to be slow apparently, you can choose what kind of citation you want. ProQuest gives you more options than some of the other databases do, but this makes your citations a little easier. I would say if you were doing it this way, to go ahead and review it to make sure everything's correct. Sometimes there will be a couple of mistakes that you need to fix, but typically you can just copy and paste the citation.
And just make sure it is what your instructor is looking for. Since they are the ones that are grading your paper, they're going to probably tell you exactly what they expect from your citations. Follow what their instructions
Just
are.
as APA 6.
Yes.
So just follow what their instructions are. Some instructors have older versions that they want you to use or something like that, or just whatever they ask of you, do. And we can also help with your citations. So when you get to that point, please let us know. We would like to help.
So where did you click to get
Okay,
that?
so I just
Sorry.
went to this little cite button.
Site button there.
Yeah. You can also email the article to either yourself or to a friend. You can print it under all options. We have the option to save to Google Drive. There's just a lot of options in ProQuest, but also in quite a few of our other databases for saving.
I also really want to show you guys this, and I'll show you this in JSTOR as well. Go ahead and you can create a research account. It doesn't cost you anything. You already have access to this database through the library, but this is creating like a profile with ProQuest. And so
it just allows you to save articles. Like if you were reading stuff, it's like, okay, I don't want to save this to my Google Drive, but you want to save it somewhere. You can create a ProQuest or JSTOR or Gale account and save the articles directly to your account.
Nope, that was not the password. It's been a while.
Recommend writing down your password.
Yeah. It's one of I've got a couple in my head to figure out. There we go. That was the right one.
So as you can see, Corey actually uses this a lot, where when you're reading an article, you can actually just hit save and it goes directly to your workbench.
Mm-hmm. And then you can, create different searches, different alerts. And so what this is good for, especially when you're at the very beginning stages of your research, is that it allows you to kind of just peripherally review an article, save it and say, okay, this is something I think is related. I don't want to read the full articles because it's like 20 pages. I don't want to read 20 pages right now. I just want to find enough resources that kind of gets me a good heading for what I'm looking to do. So you can start minimizing again that 50,000 search results, and then like, okay, I found this one, that sounds good. Okay, and it allows you to kind of continue the search without interrupting the flow of your search, but it allows you to save these, and so you don't end up with 50 tabs. So I remember when I was in school, either I wasn't aware of this or I didn't make use of it. I would have my laptop and I would have several windows open, each with like 20 tabs, and I wouldn't know what the article I was looking for. I'd have to click through every tab to find an article. Well, here it is. This is a way you can organize it. And you can you can make folders. So if you have more than one search, like you're doing 2 classes and both have research papers, you can make folders for those classes. Or even if it's the same class and you have 2 different papers that you're writing, you can still save all that stuff right there. And then what's good about this as well is that not only is it saved here for your review, when you get back to write your citations, everything you used is right there.
So that's all we had for ProQuest, but I wanted to show you JSTOR as well. JSTOR is actually not a database, it is a digital library, which means it also includes some ebooks, it has some primary source documents like archives, in addition to the articles. It functions a little bit differently, but you can still search it like a Google search. Same thing, you can find it here under J's or on this side down here. This is my personal favorite. It worked really well. I studied archaeology. This was a really excellent database for archaeology. Depending on what your research is, there may be some better databases to use. I'm assuming you're in Lance's class?
No, I mean Jeff's.
You're in Jeff's, okay. If you're doing like psychology, there's actually some really good ProQuest ones that we can show you as well.
Yeah, certain databases lend themselves to certain subjects a little bit better. And so if you're having trouble finding good resources in some of the databases you choose to do some research in, come talk to us. We might have some suggestions on either how to expand that search result or looking into other databases. Because again, we're just touching the very surface of what research we offer as well as how to do research. So it's just come talk to us. We can definitely go into more detail and go into more specifics if on a one-on-one session.
So I'm just going to do a search for the American frontier. It actually tells you here that it's going to come up with 171 results. Again, very similar. One of the things, because it's a digital library, they've already vetted their resources. All of them are already scholarly. Mm-hmm. They're either going to be scholarly, peer-reviewed, or they're going to be a primary source document. It's just the way JSTOR is set up. So that's what actually, ArtStore is. These are some photographs or images of the American West. If you're doing an art project, or if your professor allows you to add some images to your report,
or doing a presentation.
Yeah, that could actually be really beneficial for you. But again, similar to what we saw on ProQuest, you can limit it over here. So for this search, you actually have access to journals, to book chapters, and to research reports, as well as some primary source content. So let's just go ahead and limit it to journals. And we have 167 results. Similar to the subject terms that are on the side, one of the really nice things that I like about JSTOR in particular is that it lists the subject headings here. This just means this is kind of what this particular paper is about. So if we come down to like this migration to an American frontier, it's about homesteading, population migration, laborers, towns, farms, rail lines, and dryland farming. Say you're an agriculture student and you want to learn about dryland farming, which is basically everything that's in Wyoming. You can go ahead and click on that, and it's going to pull up all of the subject term or all of the articles that have that subject term listed as dryland farming, which is 925 results. So that's just, it's a really nice way for you to continue limiting what you're actually looking for. Similar to what we saw with the Native American versus American Indian, if we change this to the American West, we're going to get a different number of results. There we go. So again, it's almost 900,000 results. That's a lot for you to go through, but you can again, limit it to journals. We can limit it by years of publication. You can limit it by subject terms, or we can search within results. So say, okay, we're talking about the American West. We want to learn about the Mormon migration to the West. If you just type in Mormon under the search within results, this is going to pull up any article that is about both the American West and Mormons. Which significant, I mean, 12,000 is still a lot, but it's significantly limited how many resources we're looking at, and still gives you some primary source documents. So, and then same thing as with ProQuest. Let's just click on this one here. There we go. You have the options to kind of see, okay, well, I want to see, or you can cite this item. Some more subject terms, you can read the entire article. I'm not sure why they're not letting you. Sometimes these will be hyperlinked or, oh, there you go. So this one's published in the Journal of Economic History. You can come up here and see everything or all of the publications for that particular journal that they have. This has actually helped us. One time, Todd Gunther requested an entire journal, like not just one article. He wanted the entire journal. That I was able to find it through JSTOR through that method. But then you can also, download the PDF. You can save it to your account, which is what Corey just showed you on ProQuest. You can share it via social media or email. You just have a couple of different options.
And I will say just about the account, you do have to create an account both in ProQuest and JSTOR.
Yes.
So you'd have to, it's based on database. But if you know you're going to be in one more than the other based on whatever it is you're searching, I do highly recommend that because it helps you keep organized.
And then you can also cite this item. They only give you 3 options for citations.
It's going to be the most recent.
And these are going to be the 3 most popular. And my guess is you are only ever going to be asked to use MLA or APA here.
You can look into Chicago. I highly recommend that as a citation. I prefer it.
But so yeah, it's just a lot of very beneficial options to helping you do your research in these databases. Before we move on to Google, do you guys have any questions about database research? Awesome. Okay, so Google Scholar is actually, you can get to this a couple different ways. You can actually just search for Scholar here, or it's scholar.google.com. Works the exact same way as Google does. So we're just going to type in environmentalism here. And it's going to pull up any kind of book or article, sometimes just a citation of environmentalism. You can limit it by, since 2016, if we want something published within the last 4 years. They do not give you as much control as the databases would, but it's still a really excellent source for you to look at. One thing that I would note, Corey had mentioned the paywall earlier. Sometimes when you are trying to use Google, it's going to tell you, hey, you can't do that. You need to give us money, which is like $40+. It's expensive. If you see over on the side here, if it's left blank, like this gender, values, environmentalism, there's nothing here, you're most likely going to be charged for it. However, if you come down here, these are all books, but it's the same thing where this one's an article. If it says over here that it's a PDF, that means you have access to it. You click on that and it's going to take you to the PDF and you can read this article. If you are scrolling through this, because under environmentalism, there does seem to be quite a bit that is not free. If you are reading this and say, hey, I really want to read this book, or article, you're going to more often than not have access to the abstract, so you can read a little bit more in detail about this, but then you can contact us to get you this article.
Yeah, and when contacting us, try to give us as much information about what exactly it is that you want. Give us the link, give us as much about the citation.
The title, who
authors.
wrote it, publication date, as much information as you possibly can, so we can get you the exact article you're looking for. There's one more way, just because we have a little bit of extra time. If you go to Google, and we're going to do the same thing, environmentalism, but then do file PDF. This is going to bring up anything in Google they can find that is a PDF about environmentalism. This does not mean that it is scholarly.
Or peer-reviewed.
Or peer-reviewed. If you are looking specifically for scholarly or peer-reviewed, go through Google Scholar. But if you just want any PDF about environmentalism, this is a good way to get it. Of course, Google is a stupidly powerful resource. We do highly encourage you guys to come to our Google workshops that we're offering in April, because we'll be going over in more detail Google Scholar, Google Books, Google News, plain Google sources. How can you tell if it's a reliable source? There's so much you need to know when it comes to using Google for research. We highly recommend you come to that workshop. So that leaves us with a little bit of time for some questions. Trying to get back to our PowerPoint.
I do want to mention one thing that I forgot to mention in the catalog, just going back there real quick, so pardon me. So also when you're looking for something, this could be research or this could be personal, so it's really up, it's a really good resource just because it's just there and helps you find things if you're looking for something. So this is my favorite author. We don't have anything of her, so I'm going to expand the results to Olive Wilde. Well, I want to find books maybe that are similar to what she writes, but maybe aren't what she writes. I'm going to go into one of her books that she writes, and then I'm going to go to more about this title. Not only does it give more about her as an author, but about the title itself and more about her books right here, but it's also going to give you more information about, okay, what's the series about, what's the reader reviews, what you may also like. So if you scroll down here, it says you may also like these other books. If you like this one, okay, it's going to give you more authors. It's going to give you more titles to look at. It's going to give you the book reviews down here. And it's also going to give you tags. And so this way it's like, okay, what is it about that book that I really like? I really like that it has a female protagonist. So then it's going to do this search, which it's thinking, and it's going to pull up other books within that title. And so then you can search within the tags. You can click on stuff. You can find more that way as well. So, again, I know we're talking about research, but just think of this as, personal research, or even when you're looking for books for what the subject that you're doing or your paper on. This is another way for you to search within the catalog. So, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. So, don't just limit yourself to one way of searching. Find the best way you like, and then explore from there.
So we just went all of that. Last thing we wanted to leave you off with is don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of phenomenal resources for you on this campus. If you're having some hard time, if you have a question about your assignment or you need some help identifying a topic, like what's his name? David Gray is doing an assignment where he's just like, use this database, find something to write about. That's not a lot of information. Some people thrive off of that and just like, yes, I can write about anything I want to within reason. Other people are like, hey, I need some more guidance. Talk to your professor. They want you to succeed. If you are then, once you have those answers figured out, if you are like, okay, I have this topic, I know what I want to write about, I'm just not sure how to find information, come talk to me or Corey. We have so much information we want to share with you. We barely touched the tip of the iceberg with this presentation.
We love research.
And then the last one is talk to your classmates. While they are not the experts in the field, while they're not experts in research, A lot of times it just helps you to bounce ideas off of one another. I don't know how much time Corey and I spend just, spitting ideas at each other until we find one that, sticks. A lot of times just by talking with your classmates, you'll be able to figure out what what words you're trying to use, or maybe they're writing about something similar and they're like, hey, I found this really awesome resource. You should check it out too. A lot of times your classmates will be excellent resources for helping. So thank you for coming. Our contact information is up here. Again, you can contact either Corey or I directly, or you can contact the library and one of us will get it. Typically,
Yeah, that
Corey.
email goes to both of us. So.
But do you guys have any questions?
Do you have anything specific to your research that you guys are maybe doing right now that we can kind of do a little bit of an example run while we're here? No?
Well, Jeff has this, I'm not actually writing an entire research paper, if I understand his plan. We do a literary review, we do something with methodology, and then the final piece is putting all that into a proposal.
Okay.
And so the literary review, when I talked to him about it, he said, well, 10 sites isn't going to cut it. 25 is probably too much. 15 to 20 is great. I'm like, okay, so does that mean I'm writing 15 to 20 articles and then writing about each one of them? I mean, so how do I, supposedly my book, I haven't read it yet, but there's a whole thing on writing literary review. I think I've read it and forgotten because it was in chapter 2 or something. So I have my question, I guess it is my research question. I have my hypothesis, and then I guess I'm finding articles on. So
yeah, a literature review is typically just going to be a summarization of the current publications on that topic, which means like you don't necessarily need to summarize all 20 of them. If you're doing an annotated bibliography, you do, but for the actual literature review, it can just be this is the conclusion, which one that I recently wrote. So I wrote one on academic libraries and how to provide the best resource help to students. And it's like, well, according to current scholarship, it's important for us to embed academic resources into the learning management system, which would basically be put this into your Canvas. And then in citations, I wrote this person, this person, this person, this person all said the same thing. That was kind of my citation, which was just saying, okay, and when I was doing this research in the 20 articles I read, 5 of them said the same thing. And that only took 1 sentence to say in my paragraph for my literature review. That's all you really have to do when writing a literature review, is just saying, this is all the scholarship that's out here. These ones agree, these ones don't agree.
Okay, so if I do something like that, I'm citing, because he wants APA 6, and which, by the way, he did say if you go to Word and you pick APA 6, it'll set it all up, format it for you, which I was glad to hear.
Yes.
But I'm going to read, say, 20 articles on my topic, and then say, just summarize those 20, not write 20 different reviews.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm like, I have to write 20 different reviews.
Yeah, that is, and again, double check with him, but when somebody says a literature review, that's typically what they're asking for. It's just a couple paragraphs, 1, 2, 3 paragraphs of just what is the current scholarly literature saying about this topic.
Okay, that helps me a lot, because I'm just envisioning this 25, 30 page document.
Yes, I don't think that's what he wants.
He did say the proposal should probably be close to somewhere between 10 and 15 pages.
Yes.
But I assume that has something to do with the methodology that I have.
Yeah, you have to, so you're typically going to write your introduction of what's your research question, why is it important? Your literature review is going to be, this is what other people are saying about this right now. Your methodology is going to be, this is how I plan on studying this. So between all of that, and then adding in some extra commentary like your conclusion or whatever, is going to take you up to that 10, 15 pages.
Okay. I will be coming to see you.
Okay. Yeah, I just wrote one last semester, so I can help.
Yeah. So here's just an example right now that I pulled up. So this is an example of a literature review. And so it's just It's a page in which they're like, this is what is believed about general education perceptions of inclusion. And then they have in parentheses the reference of the general beliefs. And so you still need to find the resources to come to those conclusions, but you don't necessarily have to write it. Something specifically about each of those. It's more this is what generally is out there on this topic, and this is what seems to be a general consensus, and this is my proof of that.
Okay.
Especially
So taking notes on each article is probably a good idea.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially if he's asking you for an annotated bibliography.
He is asking.
Okay, so that's where you would then list all
And
of them and do like a
Yeah, it's about 3 to 5 sentences
about
on
paragraph.
each article.
yeah. So and that's when
So
you would
an overall summary plus.
and so that annotated bibliography would help you write your literature review, because if you find all your resources, you describe what this is saying, and then you see a common theme across these resources you come in, that then is what you can plug into your literature review, because it's saying, okay, of these 15 resources, this is a common theme, and this is a common theme, and this is who's saying it. That,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, we can definitely help you out with that. We can help you find the resources for your topic, and we can go from there. What is your topic? I could probably give you a good heading.
Not word for word. Do staff and faculty feel safer on college campuses that have a no firearms policy on campus?
Okay. And this
No
is
firearms
for, it's for a psychology class?
Research in criminology and criminal justice.
Criminology.
JSTOR or ProQuest would probably be good for that.
Yeah. Come and talk to us. And
I
we'll
accidentally
help you
ran
find
into
some good-
JSTOR when I was
Mhm.
first trying to come up with this in the first
Good.
place. So I do have an actual account with them. I didn't know how else to
Yeah.
get in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you want to come in, we can help identify some other, more specific databases for you to check out.
Yeah, the ProQuest and JSTOR are more of an overarching general database. Again, JSTOR is not quite a database; it's a
Digital library.
digital library. But there are more specific ones if you kind of look through here.
If you have to go up to all subjects under criminal justice.
So yeah, there's ones either specifically headed with criminal justice.
In
Or at
fact, I
least-
think I found that by accident too.
Mhm. And so, some of these, we typically specifically talk about JSTOR and ProQuest just because they are so
One of our favorites.
one of my favorites, but also I like the way they search. I like the way you can filter results. It's very user friendly. There are a lot of other databases that we have that are less so. I'm not saying don't explore them, because please do. The more comfortable you get with those, the better you are going to be at research in general. But if you have trouble, don't get frustrated. Come talk with us. We will help you navigate those ones to get the results you're looking for. It does take a little bit of fiddling with some of them to get results that are useful.
And isn't your access different if you set up a JSTOR account versus going into CWC library as a student setting up your JSTOR account?
That's how I did it, was through
You
the
did?
library.
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically that's the way you're going to want to go, because you have to be connected to our proxy to get our access.
It's a subscription service, and so we pay as a library or as a consortium, I believe it's through all the community colleges, pay for a subscription to the JSTOR digital library.
That's just what I wanted to make sure, so that you get more resources, no cost.
Yes, I went into our library first, which is where I found JSTOR, and then they asked me what school or something
Yeah, and
And
so
I
if
put in
you're doing it off
CWC.
campus, if you do it that way, it's going to ask you to connect that way. If you go through the library's website, it's probably just going to ask you to connect by logging in with your student username or
I
password.
think that's what I did.
So as long as you're logged into My Central, you should be okay.
If you have any trouble with that, please reach out to us. We can definitely help you either get to where you need to go, or if there's a problem we need to know so we can fix
Call
it.
Ross.
Yeah.
I will call Ross, not
Ross
you.
is my default for so many things, yes.
Yes. So yeah, that's about the gist of the tip of the iceberg for research. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us.
Hopefully, all of you guys know us, but our business cards are up here. We have some bookmarks and candy if you want to take it. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.